Slow Bunsen burner of a match. It started off with a flaming start from Smriti Mandhana and Shefali Verma, but in the middle overs we saw that as the ball got softer, the spinners got more grip and run making became very, very difficult. In the end though, a superb partnership of 72 runs between Harmanpreet Kaur and Richa Ghosh, and India have won by 6 wickets to keep their semi-final chances well and truly alive.
Not just alive, very much in their own hands now.
Actually, see, the way how they approach this run chase, 18.1 overs, 119, their net run rate would not have been impacted that much. Yeah. That is the only drawback.
That's what you were talking about in the build-up to the match as well, that this is perhaps that game. And even at the halfway stage, you thought that, half the job was done in terms of improving your net run rate. But perhaps, and given the start, by the way, that we had...
3 overs 31.
3 overs 31. Yes, Smriti Mandhana looked good with those couple of boundaries. You thought, after that beautiful auction that she had,
yes,
that perhaps she'd, just take things to another level. But looked good for those 10 runs, I would say, that she scored.
2 fours, yes, Karishma got the ball to just drift away a bit, and Rashada Williams managed to ensure that she had a very effective stumping. Then after that, Shefali Verma, typical of how it has been for her in 2022 and 2023, got a start, but
yes,
in a sweep shot, aggressive shot, she holed out to the fielder at deep square leg.
Yeah, that's the way she plays. I think in this T20 format, I don't think her role is very clear. She'll be the aggressor. But the thing is, if you've got her and Mandhana, because I think both like to, nobody really likes to bide their time. They're both aggressors in their own way. Nobody's really ready to, let's say, anchor. They're good, if it comes along, it comes along. But the good thing is, for now, the results are coming along just the way this team would have liked.
Again, see, this is against a West Indies team that are low on confidence in South Africa. Okay, the problem with Shefali Verma, I'll just tell one thing here. Far too often when she's tried to be aggressive, she's not learned from her mistake. I'll tell you the major instance of what happened. Commonwealth Games final against South Africa, okay, against Australia. Ashley Gardner got the length back. Shefali Verma tried to hoist it over mid-off, but she ended up getting a top edge. But luckily, Megan Shute dropped the catch at cover. But she didn't learn. Next ball, she again lofted, and Talia Magra this time held on to it. Same here, you could have at least she had hit a boundary earlier in the over. But unfortunately, the quest to be aggressive, she again hit that sweep shot, hold out to deep square leg. Yeah. And that was a very vital point, because after that, the innings kind of stagnated. Yeah. And had it not been for Richa Ghosh's 44, Harmanpreet Kaur actually looked a shadow of herself. She really struggled on this deck, especially in that 18th over. You saw what happened. Harmanpreet Kaur was undone by the extra bounce that Chanel Henry was getting off the deck. Now, 4 balls, pressure.
But Anurag, can we quickly just have a look at the contributions from the Indian batter? I was happy with the way Harmanpreet approached this particular match, and given this chase as well. It wasn't a big chase, of course, to begin with, but then you lost a couple of wickets, and then you needed somebody to just, because Shefali got out while playing an aggressive shot. So did Jemmy, I would say. Jemmy didn't need that shot, by the way. She should be, kicking herself for playing that aggressive shot. Just was not needed, especially when there's no scoreboard pressure. Then came in Harmanpreet Kaur, your captain, and she plays exactly the kind of knock you would have expected, because you needed to settle the nerves there.
Okay, I will agree with that point. But then the problem with Harmanpreet, she just targeted one bowler. Had it not been for if she had struggled against everybody.
What's wrong with targeting a bowler?
Luckily, the lack of depth that the West Indies had, she utilized that. Smart captaincy, smart batting.
Yeah.
But on any other given day, a knock of 33 or 42, perhaps you may have to look at the broader picture.
True.
Better teams like England, better teams like Australia might exploit that.
I'd say, because look at that. Look at the fact that up top you've got a Shefali, then you've got a Smriti, then again you've got somebody like a Jemima who played an aggressive shot, got out today. Then Richa Ghosh, her first instinct is to attack. You need somebody to, hold the innings together, and Harmanpreet also, we all know that, she is inherently an aggressive batter.
Absolutely.
She can be that aggressive, but I like the maturity with which she played today. That's what I want to point out.
it is a double-edged sword. Why I will argue it? If Richa Ghosh had not played that 44 of 32, the pressure was, and remember, after Richa Ghosh, the batting is actually thin. Devika Vaidya has not had that many chances. Deepti Sharma can be hit and miss, but in the pressure situation, can get the better of her. So you're only left with Pooja Vastrakar, Radha Yadav, Rajeshwari Gaikwad, Renuka Thakur Singh, all not that good with the bat. So India's batting, Harmanpreet Kaur, I can understand, she's playing this kind of a knock because there is not much of batting depth after that. And remember, Richa Ghosh now for 2 consecutive games.
Yes, she's winning knocks.
She's played game-changing knocks.
Yes.
And she was helped by two things.
She, I would say, she's a contender, I would say, for the man of the match, for the player of the match.
I would say I will give to Deepti Sharma because she set
bowling?
up. Yes. But Richa Ghosh, I will say, 2 very, very instances that she was very lucky. And I'll again come to the umpiring here. Clear cut, when the bat was on the crease, on the line, it should have been declared a short run. But no, the third umpire overruled it. Then another instance of good luck.
Yeah.
There was a short ball, she tried to cut. She actually got a outside edge. There was a spike.
Yeah.
But the third umpire argued that the keeper, Rashada Williams,
the ball.
Yes, but replay showed that was not grounded. Her gloves were there.
I think one of the angles suggested that maybe there was just a little bit of a tickle there.
It was a tickle.
No, not with the bat. When the ball was being collected off the ground.
Oh,
I think that was. Yes.
I felt that was
one of the angles suggested
that was a very, very dodgy decision. I'm sorry. The umpiring in particular. I mean, even in the game against Pakistan, there was a howler. Yeah. It was a 7-ball over.
Yes.
And that probably might have tilted the balance in favor of Pakistan had that over not come.
You never know.
So the umpiring needs to improve in this particular tournament because look, Richa Ghosh got away with 2 instances. Who knows? That might have.
The further you progress, the consequences become much more. Still here, at the group stage level, you can still sort of make some amends. You know what has happened. There are still a couple of games, but then when you move towards the knockouts, well, you don't have any more amends, or you don't get to make,
exactly.
You don't get more chances.
Exactly. So this is how the match summary has been so far. Okay, West Indies won the toss in overcast conditions and on a pitch that was very, very sluggish in Cape Town. They chose to bat. Pooja Vastrakar struck immediately in her first over itself, but after that there was a good partnership that developed and it was a 72 run, but it took 73 balls. So West Indies could not get the touch and the final push that they wanted, and that is why they managed.
But I think West Indies would have struggled against this Indian batting lineup because 118 run total.
If it was 130 plus.
Yes.
Like how they did against England, it would have been a very challenging total.
Pakistan, you see, again, wasn't like a huge, it was 149. Yes, Pakistan were very happy. But again, even let's say on a surface like this, which, made life difficult for the batters, as it sort of, weighed down, even 135-40 would have been a very good total, I believe.
Absolutely,
India could have been struggling.
India could have been struggling. And because look, they had started with 43 for 3 in 7 overs. Then after that with 98 or maybe 90 plus runs needed in about 13 overs, with the situation getting tougher and tougher, it would have been very, very difficult for the Indian batters, who are now level with England on 4 points, but unfortunately their net run rate is not that.
Which is why they're going to be second now.
They are second at this point in time, which is why their next encounter that will happen, that is India versus England, is now even more important. Whoever wins that, they are all but certain to top that group.
Yes.
And they will avoid Australia in the semi-finals.
Both teams won't want that.
Both teams won't want it, but although England, see, they have had the worst of Australia in the last couple of seasons. I mean, they lost in the 2022 World Cup final when Alisa Healy blew them away with a brilliant century. Then on top of that, you will now face Australia, who are at the peak of their powers after a clinical performance against both New Zealand and against Bangladesh. They will now take on Sri Lanka and South Africa in the remaining games. The South Africa game will be very, very challenging for Australia because they seem to be the team on the upsurge. And remember, in the semi-final last time in the 2020 T20 World Cup, South Africa were very unlucky to lose by 5 runs. That was how Laura Woolward got them very close to that. And India versus England, by the way, India only managed to get through to the final because their game was abandoned. But why did they get through to the final? Because they finished on top of the group. So in a rain-curtailed situation, India would want the best of both worlds. They have made the right noises by having a close win, or maybe a 1 over to spare win against Pakistan, 11 balls to spare against the West Indies, both by a margin of 7 and 6 wickets respectively, I assume. So, great start for India, but there are a lot of question marks. Today, the fielding. There was a dropped catch.
There was again
a dropped catch. The outfielding also, one run out was missed because Richa Ghosh couldn't collect the ball clearly and very, very openly in that sense. So that is why fielding remains a major issue when you look at it.
Also penetration in the bowling, I would say, you've had 2 successive matches now where your inability, let's say, to be penetrative and get that breakthrough in the middle overs, I think that's also a little exposed now. Going deep into the tournament, I think that is one area. You should know what your strategy and who that bowler will be who will get me that breakthrough in the middle overs.
I think they haven't found it.
Exactly. Thing that's happening is I think Deepti gets bowled out very early and then you're just looking around, somebody else.
Because I will just say why an Australian team like this is very intimidating. Your best batter, Beth Mooney, is not firing, yet they look intimidating. Who is their lower middle order? It's Ashley Gardner, it's Elise Perry, Pez. Then you've got the likes of Talia McGrath. Remember, Talia McGrath was the individual who took that game away in that league stage in the Commonwealth Games. That was Talia McGrath at her best. And then you've got batting all the way till number 7 and 8. And they can take the game away from you. That is the worst thing that Australia have. They have depth, they have attack, and they have discipline at all levels.
And the fire in the belly.
Well, fire in the belly. I mean, I will say this, if Australia win this T20 World Cup, they are right up there as one of the greatest ever teams to have graced any sport.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, the All Blacks rugby team.
I think this is even better than, let's say,
the men's team.
The Ricky Ponting side that we saw dominate for a good decade.
Yeah, they are better than that. They are right up there with
so the Ponting side could say, okay, listen, we didn't have the T20 World Cup back then. But 3 successive World Cups.
Yes, you didn't lose for a whole decade in a World Cup. That is tribute to them. Yes, Ponting's Australia are the original gold standard, but this Australian team, they have won 5 out of the 7 World Cups that have been held.
Absolute legends, absolutely.
Yeah, the Southern Stars have won everything that can be. And they have established records that have surpassed even Ricky Ponting's team as well. This is the challenge that the rest of the teams in this Women's World Cup are facing up. How will they hustle and bustle in order to ensure that they don't lose to Australia in the final? And remember, India have beaten Australia. It's not as if they have never beaten them. They've beaten them twice in 2 seasons. They've beaten them thrice, if I'm not mistaken. They beat them in the T20 World Cup opener in 2020. But it was a different venue altogether. Then they beat them to end the streak.
Yes.
They beat them at, I think it was an ODI streak, and then they defeated them in 2022 for the first loss for the Australian team that year.
But got beaten in the warm-up game.
They got beaten, and they were beaten 4-1. 4-1. We were thinking, can India put up a fight? Can they avoid a whitewash? They did. But by the barest of margins, a super over. Australia never give up. That is the best thing about this women's cricket team, and they are all blockbusters. Beth Mooney, brilliant batter and fielder. Alisa Healy, gun wicket keeper and an absolute legend with the bat. Then you've got Meg Lanning,
yes.
She redefines consistency. That is Meg Lanning. Then you've got the likes of Talia McGrath. Let's not forget Talia McGrath. Grace Harris. Grace Harris hit a 42-ball 100 in the Women's Big Bash League for the Brisbane Heat. And then you have the rest. The guile of Alana King, you have Ashley Gardner, then you've got Megan Shute there. Oh boy, that is one of the greatest teams that I can ever think of at this point in time. And remember, most of the Australian stars are coming to the Big Bash League. And remember, in the game against Bangladesh at Gepeherha, now it was erstwhile Port Elizabeth, now it's Gepeherha. There, Georgia Wareham, the young leg spinner, what guile and loop she was bowling against Bangladesh. So that's what India are up
by the way, by now do we know who the man of the who the player of the match is?
I think we will know who the player of the match is.
Know that by
just refresh it on, we may have an idea. I think it is Deepti Sharma. Can you just go there and see the comments? What has each and said? And remember, the West Indies team now, unfortunately, they're looking like a casualty ward at this point in time.
They, I think, are all but relegated. One can say of the.
Yeah, they are all but out of the playoff race. In fact, because now it will be Shemaine Campbell, who's a stand-in. You remember, Stephanie Taylor unfortunately had a bad. I think she had an injury on her lower back, and I think she was stretchered off. That was a really, really bad sign. So Shemaine Campbell, who's a stand-in skipper, said we didn't get enough runs as we were hoping. We should have gotten 150, and that was a fighting total. Absolutely, it was. The top three batters have to bat till the end if they have to do that. They did bat, but they batted very slowly. Ramharak has been bowling pretty good for some time. It was a good spell and will continue doing. I'm not sure what is wrong with her. We will know shortly. Yes, what has happened to Hayley Matthews, we don't know, because she was also walking off, clutching her knee. So that is one major problem for her. Stephanie Taylor, the veteran, I think she's out of the World Cup if she suffered that same back injury. That back injury ruled her out for 1.5 years. And Karishma Ramharak, absolutely brilliant show, and Hayley Matthews as well. So Deepti Sharma, I feel good. What we discussed in the meeting and the plans had the West Indies batters, we were able to apply that in the middle. That is a milestone. Happy with the achievement. Yes, male or female, the first ever Indian bowler to get to 100 T20 wickets. Simply magnificent. I'm focusing on the rest of the World Cup. There is a bit of turn in this, and I focus on bowling stump to stump. Deepti Sharma is not a big turner of the ball.
When you talk about men's cricket, I think it is Chahal who's at 81 now.
Yes.
Just ahead of
Bhuvi and Ashwin. So Harmanpreet Kaur is saying whatever we were expecting, we were able to do, especially our bowling. We discussed about Deepti's bowling in the team meeting, and she was not happy with the last game. The bowling coach helped her, and today she got the results.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Under the guidance of Hrishikesh Kanitkar, the former India batter, who we all know for one major reason, chased down 326, the last 4 that he hit was Sakleen Mushtaq. That made him a household name. And more importantly, Kanitkar, back-to-back titles with Baroda. That was a claim to fame. I mean, was it? No, Rajasthan. 2011 and 2012, he won it for Rajasthan. So that is the best thing about Hrishikesh Kanitkar. So that is all we have for this match of the Women's T20 World Cup. India versus the West Indies. We now move to India versus England. The top two clash. Whoever wins that is assured almost
the group.
Wins the group, and they avoid Australia in the semi-finals for the time being. Can you just have a look at the points table, Anurag, if you can?
Yeah, if that's updated, hopefully.
Yeah, that should be updated at this point in time. Just go to points table and new tab. That can happen. So the Australian women's cricket team with 4 points at plus 2.834. Sri Lanka, who would have thought Sri Lanka would be there at 4 with 0.430. South Africa are making a comeback with 2 points with plus 1.550. But the White Ferns, oh man, this breaks my heart. Minus 4.0. So England now have 4 points with plus 2.497, but India plus 0.5, not improved.
It's actually not improved a lot, because prior to the game it was 0.497, which is roughly 0.50.
0.090.
And now it's just moved to 0.590. So again, as we were discussing as well, because the margin and the nature of the win wasn't such that it'll, really give a fillip to the net run rate. That's exactly what's happened now. But nonetheless, India solidified their position right at the top with 2 wins out of 2, and now they look forward to this English side.
Both England and India need only 1 win. That's it. And they are through to the semi-finals. But for the other match, if you just go up, Anurag, the fixtures, what can we look up to next? Just go up to the fixtures, because now what will happen is half of the tournament is done for all the favourites. Half of the league stages have been done, and we go down now. West Indies have now tomorrow. What will be there tomorrow? Tomorrow is a very important game. Sri Lanka versus Australia at Gepahera. So whoever wins that, they'll be the first team to qualify.
Now interesting to see, with the Sri Lankan side high on confidence, can they cause an upset?
It looks difficult, but yes, if they beat Australia,
not any upset as of now, right?
I think Sri Lanka beating South Africa was an upset.
Perhaps.
But if they beat Australia, it'll be off the charts. Then February 17th, you'll have New Zealand versus Bangladesh, kind of an inconsequential
If that
game.
happens, by the way, then the whole thing just goes for a toss.
Oh yes,
then Australia's chances also you'll have to look at.
Yes.
They're left with the game against New Zealand, I believe.
No, Australia will then take on South Africa. Winner takes it all. That is the way it is.
Yeah.
That is at Gepahara. So that's how it is. Pakistan versus West Indies, New Zealand, Sri Lanka on 19th. And India finished their campaign on the 20th. The league stages and then hopefully the semi-finals. So that is how the matches are lined up.
So yes.
TB on 23rd we'll have the semi-finals. A1 versus B2. That will be Australia versus India, Newlands at the same venue. And anyway, the most of the matches now are happening in Newlands. So that's how it is. Semi-final 2 will be topper if suppose...
So there's a final happening on this 26th. There's one happening next year, next month as well. That'll be your WPL final.
WPL final, yes. That begins after Feb 26th.
4th of March.
2 plus 4.
Third, I believe.
Just 6 days. 6 days later, you have Gujarat Giants versus the Mumbai Indians, Adani versus
Lots
Ambani.
of cricket coming in.
Yeah, Laura. Cricket never stops. So that is why we'll be back every day. Yep. So India are victorious by 6 wickets and are second in the table. We'll be back with more updates on sports, including Harshad's going to come back with yet another blunder by the ICC. I will now stop trusting the ICC. I'm sorry. I will stop.
You've got reason to.
I have got plenty of reasons to. So that is how it is. India versus Australia. We are building up to the Border Gavaskar Trophy now. We'll be back tomorrow with more updates. Press the like, comment and share button. We are also on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And for me, I am out to unsubscribe to the ICC at this point in time. This is me and Arshad saying thank you. Bye-bye. Vanakkam.
Good night.